Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro announced changes within his government cabinet as part of the advances in the construction of a new cycle of popular self-government. In Burkina Faso, government authorities have confirmed at least 200 fatalities in the terrorist attack perpetrated in the north-central part of the country. Israeli forces have carried out an intense incursion into the occupied West Bank, resulting in the death of at least 7 Palestinians in the region. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Venezuela's Minister of Interior, Justice and Peace, Diosdado Cabello, denounced a new attack against the country's power system.
Yes, well, it is the denunciation that the president made, with evidence, because he knows that the president has information generated by the security agencies about the plans of the right wing. We knew that they were planning this type of attack not only to the electric service but to other services that are used massively by the people of Venezuela. Now we are already at this moment, the security agencies deployed. It was an attack to a transmission tower. The security agencies together with the workers of the electric service, who are good, tireless, they will not cease in their efforts, and we will not cease in the pursuit of justice in Venezuela, and the people of Venezuela can be sure that the response will be forceful against those who are generating violence, who are generating terrorist acts, and who are attacking public services, which are of extreme necessity for the people of Venezuela.
The President of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, announced changes in his executive cabinet in order to adjust the strength of the government to better meet the needs of the people. During a meeting for the balance of the second national popular consultation, the President highlighted the potential of this electoral process held on Sunday, August 25th. In addition, he pointed out that there is a participatory democratic conscience in the people of Venezuela. He also highlighted that the country has reached a new point of maturity to reach a democratic state. In this sense, the head of state presented the changes in his government cabinet in order to consolidate the new phase of the construction of the popular self-government.
I am going to make a renewal of half of the construction of territorial socialism, of communal democracy, of direct democracy, of the new system of government that breaks with the concept of superficial aerial protocolary government. There will already be an executive cabinet. I am going to announce the necessary changes in different ministries to couple the strength of the popular revolutionary and socialist government of Venezuela and give the order that this stage that is opened with the victory of July 28th, is the stage of officialdom. Enough of lies and deception.
Superficial. Ya basta de la superficialidad.
The President-elect of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, reported the decision of President Andrés Manuel López Obrador to pause relations with diplomatic missions of the United States and Canada due to their interference. During an important political meeting held on Tuesday night, President-elect emphasized that they appreciated relations with their neighbors, but in her words, both embassies committed a transgression. The President-elect reminded the ambassadors that decisions about Mexico are a matter for Mexican men and women. In the last few hours, the ambassador to the White House, Ken Salazar, has tempered their stance in a new statement. However, the President-elect assured that she will not meet with him.
The statement of the ambassador of the United States and Canada is the problem, because they make statements that have to do with the exclusive concerns of the Mexican people, therefore the response of the president. It is not that the president said something that has no precedent. The executive branch responds in defense of our sovereignty. This is always important, and it is also in the Constitution.
The ghost of narco-politics has not left Panama. A recent operation involving a direct relative of a congressman has brought the topic of narco-politics back to the national debate. Our colleague Reka Shanti Ramani tells us about it.
Panamanian prosecutors dismantled an international network dedicated to drug trafficking and money laundering in the so-called Operation Jericho. The investigation lasted just over a year and resulted in the seizure of 1,592 packages of cocaine and almost $400,000, 41 raids, and 28 people charged. Among those under investigation are Panamanians, Colombians, and Mexicans.
We were able to establish the existence of a criminal group that was engaged in international drug trafficking by introducing illicit substances through the Darien area, by land through backpackers, substance that was then moved to the area of San Miguelito, then camouflaged in double bottom of a vehicle to be taken out to the area of Costa Rica.
According to the prosecutor's office, agents of the National Border Service were guarding the drugs in transit. On the other hand, one of those captured is Abraham Rico Pineda, son of the deputy of the National Assembly, Raul Pineda, member and director of the Democratic Revolutionary Party. The operation is also investigating a company linked to the deputy's entourage, which would have served as a vehicle for the alleged laundering of the illicit money.
They do it from the moment they put money to finance structures, candidacies, that allow them to effectively have some level of incidence on national and political activities. That is a problem we are facing. At the national level, it has been questioned precisely that they have taken over instances such as the legislative body. Today we are facing precisely one of these questions, due to the linking of some deputies or relatives close to organized crime, drug trafficking, money laundering.
According to experts, Panama has gone from a phase in which organized crime recruited officials in the different entities to sustain its activities, to one in which the same officials have created their own criminal structures, shielded from power with privileges, tailor-made laws, pacts with judges and prosecutors, electoral clientelism, among others.
This situation is worrying us. Because of this suitable test, this inefficiency in being able to find out who are the real bosses behind these criminal organizations, to identify the names that have been infiltrated from the most modest bases of the people, up to a subdirector, director of a police or security institution, as well as ministers, and not only at a public level, but also at a commercial level, as these structures are linked.
Although private electoral financing has been capped since the last elections, this is not complied with because the Electoral Tribunal itself has said that it has no way to audit and confirm the veracity of the reports submitted by the candidates, in addition to in-kind donations, which many campaigns omit to register. According to experts, as long as the key to private financing is not closed, narco-politics will continue to settle in the Canal Country.
Para teleSUR, desde Ciudad de Panamá, Reca Chandiramani.
Let's now take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English. We'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back, stay with us. Welcome back. In the United States, Special Counsel Jack Smith released a newly revised indictment against former President Donald Trump, which brings the court proceeding in line with the recent Supreme Court ruling. The substitute indictment was filed Tuesday in the case of electoral interference in the 2020 elections. The new indictment lowers the allegations against the far-right businessman and adjusts them to the ruling issued by the highest court in the United States on July. It was reported that the new allegations of the special counsel are linked to the former president's efforts to have the Justice Department support his accusations of electoral fraud in the 2020 elections. In Burkina Faso, government authorities have confirmed at least 200 fatalities in the terrorist attack perpetrated in the north-central part of the country. The brutal attack in the city of Basalog is attributed to the terrorist organization Jamaat Nusrat ul-Islam. similar to Al-Qaeda operating in West Africa. Jamaat Nusrat ul-Islam grew stronger while Western powers such as France claimed to be cleansing the Sahel of extremism. The spokesman of the Kaya Hospital, René Sawadogo, confirmed that in addition to the dead, there are 140 wounded. Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, has strongly condemned this attack, which, according to the Minister of Security, Mahamad Osana, will be met with an exemplary response. Meanwhile, Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez is embarking on a visit to West Africa as the country faces a dramatic rise in migrant arrivals, particularly to the Canary Islands. The three-day tour will include meetings with leaders from Mauritania, Gambia, and Senegal, aimed at addressing the ongoing migration crisis. So far this year, the Canary Islands have experienced a staggering 126% increase in arrivals, with over 22,000 migrants reaching the islands by mid-August. Local officials warn of an impending crisis due to insufficient resources, especially for unaccompanied minors, with calls for increased EU support growing louder. The situation remains critical as autumn approaches and migration patterns shift. And a World Health Organization Emergency Commission of African Scientists holds the international community responsible for the aggressive outbreaks of Mpox affecting the continent. Commission leader Dr. Dimi Ogoina said that decades of neglect and inability of the international community have led to the spread of new, more transmissible versions of the virus that countries with few resources cannot stop. Ogoina states that for years, Mpox spread only slightly, affecting homosexuals or bisexual men. Now, with the inability of other countries to contain the virus in populations with low immunity, children and women suffer from it and even become potential fatalities. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. We found a short break, don't go away. Welcome back. The Israeli regime escalates its genocidal actions in the occupied West Bank, killing 11 Palestinians in less than 12 hours. Jennings governor said it was the largest operation to take place in the area since 2002. The regional leader reported that Israel is threatening to occupy one of its hospitals where there are 200 workers and more than 150 patients. The situation is extremely tense as resistance factions respond to the occupation's attacks. Meanwhile, Qatar confirmed that ceasefire negotiators are already in Doha without mentioning Hamas. In this context, and in view of the critical situation in the West Bank, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas cut short his visit to Saudi Arabia. And just when 326 days of the Israeli genocide in the Gaza Strip have passed, the Palestinian Ministry of Health announced that in the last 24 hours, the Israeli regime committed 3 assassinations against civilians in Gaza, and as a result, dozens of Palestinians were martyred and more than 100 were wounded. Also, the Zionist regime issued a new evacuation order to increase its attacks between the southern part of Han Yunis and the central area of Gaza, including Deir al-Bala. Later, another attack on the Nur Shams refugee camp in the occupied West Bank left at least 5 dead. Also, in this context, the United Nations was forced to suspend its aid operations after the new evacuation order was issued in the area where they had located their operations center after relocating from Rafah. The United Nations warned that the anti-polio campaign team in the Gaza Strip no longer has safe spaces to treat the population. The actions of the Israeli Defense Forces worsen existing security threats and severely affect the pace at which the United Nations can safely deliver vaccines. In this context, the agency stated that polio vaccination for more than 600,000 children in Gaza is about to begin soon, with a second round planned for 4 weeks from now. It should be noted that different organizations, together with other partners, are preparing a 2-round vaccination campaign aimed at inoculating children under 10 years of age. And China's foreign ministry published a report revealing that the National Endowment for Democracy non-profit foundation promotes subversive and destabilizing activities in several countries around the world. The report shows that the foundation, established in 1983 by the then U.S. President Ronald Reagan, uses so-called human rights movements to demand changes in government. It finances media and digital platforms of NGOs to train and instigate what they call color revolutions. In Cuba alone, the net has funded 54 anti-Cuban organizations since 2017. In Mexico, they support Mexicans Against Corruption and the Institute for Competitiveness, through which they have tried to stop important social gains for the Mexican people, such as the electric power reform. The United Nations resumed on Tuesday the discussions on the reform of the Security Council, considered the main body in charge of world peace. The plenary meeting on the subject will broaden discussions on equitable representation and increasing the membership of the 15-member body with only 5 permanent seats. It will also review the immediate continuation of the intergovernmental negotiations on council reform ahead of the 79th session, which will open in September. According to experts, the reconfiguration of the council should include the African continent and other regions that do not have a permanent seat. St. Lucia plans to be in construction this year of an underwater sculpture park that will be similar to the one in Grenada. This project seeks to highlight the main elements of the island's culture and history. The government has consulted the population on the design of the effigies and has high expectations for the park's impact on tourism growth. The aim is to transform St. Lucia into the leading destination in the Caribbean for adventure-seeking tourists. Similar parks will also be built on the islands of Cariacao and Petite Martinique in collaboration with British artist Jason De Caires Taylor, the creator of several pieces located in Molinaire. Now we are going to Chile in a trip where we will know the black pottery of Quinchamali, an artisan tradition whose pieces stand out for their characteristic black color and white flowers.
Quinchamali is a small Chilean town whose pottery practice dates back to the Pehuense and Mapuche communities, as well as Santa Cruz de Cuca, where the production of black pottery survives to this day, a craft that is dedicated to the creation of functional and decorative objects characterized by their dark color and fundamental basis in the economy of the Chilean region. Each one of the pieces requires the work and attention of a series of artisans. The steps go from the collection of the material, the treatment of the same, and later the creation of the pieces. With this technique, vessels, pots, and fountains are created, or some more decorative ones in the shape of animals or la guitarrera, representation of a peasant woman carrying a guitar and that became an icon of the Chilean handicraft. Once the object is shaped, the bas relief and the decorative lines are made. They are fired directly in the embers and left to cool, covered with sawdust or leaves, which gives them their characteristic pigmentation. Once this process is finished, they are cleaned and the bas reliefs are filled with white color, highlighting the drawings and the details, generally flowers. This knowledge has been passed from mother to daughter from generations, forming matriarchal lines which have become an artistic source of social and economic autonomy. Nowadays, there are also men involved in the pottery tradition, although it is still mostly feminine. Each of the families has developed its own style, but together they manage to obtain recognition as a part of the intangible cultural heritage of Chile and even a denomination of origin, which allows them to continue living from their art and keeping this artisan practice alive. This artistic expression was inscribed as Chilean heritage in 2022 and it is part of the list of those requiring urgent safeguarding measures.
Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.